There's a video that's going a bit viral on Facebook of this young lady. I think it's on the show Big Brother, if I am not wrong. And that particular show shows this young lady getting into some tussle or a fight or something, and she they just argue. I recently saw it like just a few minutes before. I was deciding to actually record a different video, but then when I saw this, it kind of addressed a certain topic that I wanted to talk about. When a story, there was a story that came out a little bit earlier on of a young lady by the name of Tando in South Africa. And this young girl, she was deciding to quit school, doing social media stuff and stuff. And she was, I think she was almost in grade 12 or almost finishing that to do her matric and stuff. And so a lot of people were saying, not might not be the best of ideas and stuff. And so I wanted to talk about the destructive nature of what social media has done to young people. But it's not just social media that has done that. Also, the Bible does dictate, it does kind of tell us what to expect out of the human heart, what comes out of the human heart. Now, if you haven't heard or if you haven't seen the particular video, um, I think it happened very recently because people are kind of like circulating it as something that happened recently. So we're going to talk about that thing that happened with this young lady. I think her name is Liema. I hope I'm correct. I'm saying the name correctly as I heard them screaming it in the video that was kind of trending. That's the topic that I want to talk about. But I hope this video does reach younger people. Uh, yeah, someone who's older than me will say, Ricky, you are also young. I'm young, but not that young. I'm talking to that young, them are 2000 young. It's the reality show. We do daily Christian commentary videos. If it's the first time over here, to be sure to check out some other videos that are down in the pinned comments, and I'm gonna check you out over down there. And so, this particular subject, the reason why I wanted to talk about it mainly, it's how social media has elevated the desire to just be known. It doesn't really matter what for or on what basis should people know you. And so just be known. You just kind of put yourself out there. But with this young lady, what recently came out was on this particular episode, she's fighting. She's fighting with men in this video. And she spits on one on this guy, and then she actually goes to the extent of slapping him later on. Now, there are people that are actually commenting around this particular story. They are saying the young lady should be punished. And as a matter of fact, somebody highlighted it in the comment right here by the name of Precious said Mara. To be honest, B got disqualified. I'm not sure exactly who B is. Maybe it's another particular house member or something. In this particular thing, it's part of the Big Brother house or something like that. And so, in this comment, they state that this particular person got B, they got disqualified, even though he asked for forgiveness. Same applies to Liema. She should be disqualified. She attacked people. She attacked people, and she is aggressive. Remember when she wanted to do the koi koi thing? The housemates didn't agree. She didn't. She took her chair and threw it and left. And so Biggie said nothing. So I guess that's Big Brother, according to the thing. You see, that particular comment kind of highlighted what I wanted to talk about, particularly on this particular narrative, being that the comment highlights something about our day and age media space, which is people love destruction. There is this love of destruction. I think it's the fallen nature. It's the state. It's Abel seeing his brother within the light of him getting judgment from him. So he exerted a judgment over his brother. He killed his brother. If you don't know the story of Cain and Abel, I was in Sunday school. Sunday school, you were not there. He killed his brother. And then when God asked him, where is your brother? He says, I am not my brother's keeper. Because he He was justified in how he behaved, killing his brother. He felt the brother was deserving of things. So you see, the same way we are when we see distraction, it's almost as if it's attractive. Not that we are drawn to the person, we become drawn to destructive behavior or destructive nature to a point where we don't call it out. We don't say nothing. We don't rebuke it. We let distraction play out. Like you just literally are just looking. And that's what I think a lot of young people are dealing with because they are drawn to destructive nature. You know, if you do see the video, I don't advise going to look for it. In Big Brother they don't dress properly and stuff like that. And so in this video, they were not dressed. I don't know if that's how they are dressing all the time, but in this particular clip where she slaps the guy, they're not dressed properly. So just a little bit heads up if you go deciding to look to see the video. They constantly try to get her to calm down, but she is raging and she keeps pacing around, and you can see the pride building in her. You can see the pride building in her, and to a point where she just explodes. Even when she was no longer talking to the guy who she was fighting with or having this argument with, she comes to a point where she just latches and slaps this guy, gives him a hardcore slap, but it built in her pride. You see pride rise up in her, and and this young girl, it's like what? She's 22. So I then went back and I looked for her introduction videos. Like at Big Brother, they do this introduction thing. So they do a clip, like an introduction, and I watched the video. And I don't know if it's a tagline or if it's something that she calls herself Siamosha. That's kind of like a tagline or something. But apart from that particular thing, she's like, yeah, she's just there to have fun and step out of reality. She literally says that in the introduction video. And I thought that was quite an interesting one. That her motto, it's distraction. It's that thing that we just sit and we stare. This is an accident. Load shedding, don't mind it. This is distraction, but you just keep looking. You just keep staring. You can't take your eyes from it. You can't draw yourself away from it. You just continue looking at it. Distraction. And that's literally what I saw when I saw this young lady's thing. 22 years old. And that was a way of behavior. Now, why particularly did I want to address it within the stone? If you remember, the Bible tells us to guard our heart. Guard our heart. Not reputation. To guard our heart. Because out of our heart comes out all these behaviors, all this self-preservation, all these things that are destructive in their ways. Which is exactly what we are talking about here. Is that younger people are learning this behavior without self-control. So like when you're literally watching the video, it's a person that lacks self-control. When you're reading the comment that's been said right here, she lacks self-control. Now, what's the destructive nature when a person like that continues on? Is that they start to believe their pride is justified in whatever it acts in. You see, that's the destructive aspect of it. That's the destructive side of this thing. Is that they start to believe they are justified in however they decide to act. That was the sad part of what I was seeing. And if you look at what happens after a person has concluded such things, you look at a person like Cyan Buji, who goes around fighting everybody. She is known a certain way. So later on, she might decide to change or want to change this rotten behavior that she constantly portrays herself as, or this character that is completely unacceptable. She might decide, you know what, I might want to change away and move away from that image. The same way this young lady might decide, you know what, I don't want to be this person. I want to move away from that. But because they would have branded themselves a certain way, and I see it all across social media, basically, is that younger people have been made to accept this image Younger people have been made to accept this idea that is far from a personality that people should actually be looking towards. I thought I wanted to talk about that on the basis that, unfortunately, because of our love of destruction, because we are constantly looking at destructive things, because we are constantly looking at destructive behavior, we've come to a point where we've accepted this type of behavior in a way that it does not help the people that are participating in it. Like this young lady right here. This behavior that even the people that watch the show are saying, you know what? She has this thing about her that just erupts. Where does this lead? It leads people to be without correction, to a certain point where people pull themselves, because they know you're not going to listen if they correct you. So they pull themselves out. The same thing that I would say about the lady Tando, the Tando lady, that they're saying that she wants to quit so that she can do social media. She's out there, all kinds of things. A story was out there, I think, about last year or so. And you know, with Tando, it's a simple thing. If she looks at the characters of like Moggs, there's a guy from Australia, I think his name is Moggs. He did exactly the same thing. That he thought he was just going to focus on things. He didn't understand that it was just a periodic thing. People might watch it right now, but there's no guarantee that people are going to watch it 5 years from now. So she would have dropped education to land into what? God knows what. Only God knows what that looks like after. But nowadays, young people are having this thing that they're just going for anything that portrays destruction. And I thought this young lady's story, it's very telling of that. Unfortunately, she might continue in this behavior, distraction, siamosha, as she stated. You know, I wish I could play you the audios on the video that actually played out in an intro. But if you watch an intro, you don't even have to watch the video. That she think young people have pulled themselves into this thing of distraction in order for relevance. And what this is distraction has led to, it has led to people that are unruly, extremely unruly, untamed, self-willing, as you might actually put it. Siamosha, that's literally, I don't know if that's kind of like a tagline or her name or whatever you might call it. There is this tendency of distraction or looking at distraction with us. We just look. We don't even call it out. We just leave it as it is. Unfortunately for them, it will lead them astray. There is no point of return. You look at that video, it doesn't look good. You know, it doesn't look good. Her pride just keeps arising. If she gets too used to this behavior, she'll fight with the wrong one day. It's Ricky. Sexuality Show. We do daily Christian commentary videos. The Bible does tell us about this type of stuff in the last days. Young people, the state of young people in the last days. It says the Spirit speaks expressly that in the last days many will depart from their faith, but you will have young people that are disobedient towards elderly. Unruly, it says. And that's exactly self-willing, lovers of self more than lovers of God. Now, I know that there's a whole fan base that love this type of shows and stuff like that, but it's quite an interesting one for me to just remind us. There's this thing where we just love looking at destruction. We love seeing, we just keep looking at them as they self-destruct without reminding them, hey, what you're doing has an end that you might not like. Unfortunately, by the time they realize that, it's all too late. It's Ricky, we're done here.